Let me just emphasize more on this. Not out of pride or a spirit of showing off. I was looking amazing that day. Even my friend Melissa was so impressed with the way I was looking. So there I was, just chilling with Melissa, when suddenly I heard Ndu's voice from behind me. Nakai, is that really you? I responded, okay, judging from the way you're stammering, I would say you're in shock, right? Well, relax, darling. It's just me, the village girl you left without even a goodbye. He said, okay, first of all, that was a lot to take in, but I'll accept it because I feel I deserve all the insults you can throw at me. And second of all, I didn't just leave you, I was forced to leave you, remember? Brenda didn't give me much of a choice. I responded, Brenda gave you a choice. All she asked us to do was take some time apart to better understand how much we mean to each other. And I guess for you, that was all the reason you needed to move on, right? And he said, okay, seriously, tone it down a little. Where is all this coming from? What do you mean a chance for me to move? Move on to where? I just said, do you really want to start pretending like you don't know what I'm talking about? Anyways, it's okay, darling. We can put the past behind us and move on with life. How have you been? He started stammering. Okay, let me just say this. You look so different. You look amazing. In fact, amazing might actually be an understatement. I just said I would take that as a compliment. Thank you. I could tell he wanted to extend our conversation, but I just wasn't interested. Before I could even think of walking away, the unexpected happened. The new madame showed up from nowhere and put her hands around his waist to hug him. He just stood there staring at me as if he had seen a ghost. All of a sudden, she started to talk to him. Babe, aren't you going to introduce me? She said. And I said, yes, Mr. Babe, aren't you going to introduce her? Hilariously, he started clearing his throat non-stop. I can honestly say I had never seen him do shake like this before. He said, Nakai, this is Bridget. Bridget, this is Nakai. And Bridget said, that's it? And why are you shaking so much? You just piss me off at the worst of times, don't you? Anyways, nice to meet you, Nakai. Like he said, I'm Bridget. You can call me Queen Bee. I'm his girlfriend. The way this girl spoke, you could tell that she was either a spoiled brat or a very serious bully. I just said, hi Bridget, it's nice to meet you too. You seem new here because I've never seen you on campus before. We started talking, and funny enough, it became almost like Ndu was not there. It was through talking that I discovered two things about her. One, she was a student, but most of her studies were online based since she was a part-time student. The second thing, which was a huge shock, not just to me, but even to Mel's, she was not just his girlfriend, but rather his pregnant girlfriend, who had decided to switch to a full-time schedule, not just for study purposes, but to also keep an eye on her baby daddy, who apparently had been ghosting her for some time. So it turns out to him, I was just his time-pushing painkiller for him to spend more time with, away from his main girl. To be honest, the more she spoke, the more I felt like killing Ndu on the spot. But I had to play it cool and stay calm. Just deep inside, I was just hoping he would not utter a single word, because that would have just worsened the situation. Thankfully, she finally stopped talking. She took her dog and they left. I looked at Melissa, and I knew we were both shocked to think that this whole time, Ndu had another woman outside, and yet he still claimed to love her. I couldn't believe it. A large part of me wanted to do the worst thing possible to him, but I couldn't think of anything. So Ndu was just using me to hide from his baby mama problems, I thought to myself. Melissa just took me home, confused as I was, despite looking good. I had now become like a gorgeous looking zombie. When we got home, Brenda was there. I couldn't speak and Mels did all the talking. If I say Brenda was furious, I'll be lying. She was way more than that. After so much cursing and angry words, she finally came up with a plan. I was not sure if Brenda's plan would work, since it was something planned out of anger and fury. But at the same time, I wanted Ndu to suffer for what he had done to me. So according to Brenda, the plan was for me to get Ndu alone. far from where anybody would be able to disturb us. And then me, Melissa, and Brenda would make him understand what a woman in pain can really do. Getting him to do alone was not the problem, because I knew that he would want to meet up and talk. My only concern was that the way Brenda was so angry, the worst might happen, and not in the way any of us would expect. I called him too, and I told him I wanted to see him. This time it was just me wanting answers for everything. I did this behind Brenda's back because I knew that assaulting him or getting him physically hurt, like the way Brenda wanted, would not get me all the answers I wanted. He agreed to meet up. I told him to meet me by the campus gate in 20 minutes. By the time I got there, he was already there waiting for me. We looked for a shade to sit under. It was just 3 days after I had met up with his pregnant, spoiled brat, but deep down, I was still boiling with anger. He said, I have to be honest, I was shocked to hear from you. I thought I would never hear from you again. I just responded, I thought I would never want to see you unless if it was to kill you or worse. He just said, okay, you sound very angry and upset. I don't blame you. You have every right to be upset. But before you do whatever it is you may feel will make you feel better, just give me a chance to explain everything. I responded, dude, the last time I gave you a chance to explain things, you just gave me excuses. Why should today be any different? He responded, okay, if you didn't come here to explain, then tell me why you called me here. And I said, I didn't say I don't want you to explain. I called you here to ask you why. Why the lies? Why the deception? And most of all, why me? He said, okay, firstly, let me just say that I am truly sorry for everything. Dude, I didn't ask for an apology, I responded. I asked you a question which needs to be answered. I would suggest you start answering. He said, okay, sorry. Anyways, the truth is that Bridget and I have been together for quite some time now, but it's not something that I wanted. I was pressured into being with her simply because her father was helping out with my fees and tuition. Did her father hold a knife to your neck and say, date my daughter? He said, no, it wasn't like that. Nakai, just hear me out. At first things were actually going well and the relationship was great. But then she became this controlling and abusive spoiled brat and I wanted out. She threatened that if I ever leave her, then I should kiss my education goodbye. I responded, but you and Danai seem to come from a family that had very little financial challenges. How did you end up depending on Bridget's father for financial support? He said, Danai is the one who came from the rich part of the family. My dad passed away a few years ago and the relatives took everything. But that is a story for another day. Bottom line is, Mr. Griffiths, Bridget's father, ended up taking care of my financial needs after a lot of begging. I just said, okay, continue. He went on to say, Bridget played a huge part in helping to convince her father to help me out. This was before we started dating. She liked me and she did so much just to make sure her dad provided all that I could ever need. She started making advances. I also developed feelings for her and one thing led to the next. The problem was that she was so controlling to the point that sometimes I was not even allowed to talk to other girls without her knowing about it. I got tired. I knew I could not dump her. I feared that if I do that, she might convince her father to cancel everything. So I played along. The day that I came to see Danai and then ended up meeting you, I had actually come to talk to her about this whole thing and get some advice. I said, if you had come to talk to Danai about your situation, why did you have to stop that and start coming after me? And his response was, the moment I saw you, I can't even explain what I felt, but all I know is that I told myself I had to see you again. By the time Danai started talking about an outing, I was already working on my own plans. I said to him, dude, you came to me when you knew that you already had someone else. Why didn't you at least tell me that there was someone? His response was, honestly, I wanted to tell you, but I was afraid that if you knew, then you would leave me. Was any of what we had real? I asked him, or was I just an escape from your world of drama? He said it was all real. I was genuinely in love with you. I said, really? Then how did you end up getting her pregnant at a time when we were trying to fix things between us? And his response was, okay, that part is a little complicated. You see, I